The Year 2 AFL competition was designed to improve participation, skill development, and enjoyment through a series of modified AFL training sessions and games. Our responsibility was to collect, analyse, and interpret data relating to the students' performance in the fundamental AFL skills of kicking, handballing, and marking. This data was then used to identify strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement within the group. Riley and I worked collaboratively to use this information to develop strategies that would improve both participation and performance throughout the competition. The group consisted of 10 Year 2 students with varying levels of AFL experience, confidence, and skill. These differences reflected a range of socio-cultural influences, including previous sporting experiences, exposure to AFL outside of school, and varying levels of confidence in physical activity. Students entered the program with varying levels of AFL experience and confidence. As a result, some students demonstrated characteristics of the associative stage, while others were in the cognitive stage and required additional support. My aim throughout the coaching was to improve the students' fundamental skills in kicking, handballing, and marking, while increasing engagement, confidence, and participation during both training sessions and games. The key movement concepts addressed throughout the coaching included skill acquisition, movement execution, decision-making, and participation. The focus area of communication, collaboration, and performance improvement were also central to my role. Throughout the coaching, we were able to collect evidence through pre-testing, mid-testing, and post-testing, as well as player profiles, observations, and video footage. This helped us make coaching decisions and evaluate the effectiveness of implemented strategies. There was also a noticeable variation in skill level across the group. Some students displayed strong AFL skills and looked to be in the associative stage, while others who required additional support when performing fundamental motor skills such as kicking and handballing were in the cognitive learning stage. From a coaching perspective, one of our strengths was building positive relationships with the students. We provided augmented feedback through activities, as most of our feedback focused on knowledge of performance by helping students improve their technique rather than simply focusing on the outcome. We also provided knowledge of results after testing activities, allowing students to compare their scores and monitor improvement. Another strength was our collection of benchmarking data through skill testing, observations, and player profiles, giving us a strong starting point for measuring improvement. The Week 1 benchmarking data identified kicking as the weakest skill across the group, with an average score of 2.43 out of 5. This evidence informed our decision to place a greater emphasis on kicking activities and feedback throughout the coaching program. The main area requiring improvement was time management. Although the students arrived approximately 10 minutes late, our transitions between activities could have been more efficient. As a result, the game began around 9 minutes behind schedule, reducing the amount of game-based learning time available. This limited opportunities for students to apply their kicking, handballing, and decision-making skills in a game environment and reduced our ability to observe their progress and provide feedback. The Week 1 benchmarking data showed a wide range of ability levels across the group, with overall averages for each skill combining ranging from 1.87 to 3.84 out of 5. This supported our observation that some students were already demonstrating characteristics of the associative stage, while others remained in the cognitive stage and required additional support. The data showed that 6 students performed above the team average, while 4 students required additional support. This highlighted the need to differentiate feedback and activities to cater for students at different stages of learning. This data provided a clear understanding of each student's ability level and helped guide future sessions planning. Based on our reflections and collaborative discussions as coaches and with the wider class, several changes were made for the following week. Together, Riley and I analysed the testing data and observations before deciding on strategies that would improve both participation and performance. During games, students will be allocated specific positions and provided with different coloured bibs to improve spacing and ball movement. To get rid of the major issue of tackling from the first week, we decided to implement tag belts to help create a safe environment. To address time management issues, we will shorten transitions, begin the game earlier, and start packing up immediately after the game concludes. During Week 2, we were able to implement several of the changes identified from our Week 1 reflection. The most successful aspect of the session was the modified game. We introduced a no tackling rule and tag belts, which significantly improved the flow of play. The removal of tackling acted as a coaching constraint, creating a safe environment while also encouraging greater ball movement and involvement from all players. The game was much more spread out than in Week 1, allowing more students to touch the ball rather than just the higher skilled players dominating possession and creating a higher participation rate throughout the group. Despite these positives, there were still several challenges. Time management improved compared to Week 1, but it remained an area requiring further development. We were once again late starting the game, this time around 5 minutes late, which reduced game time and forced us to rush the pack-up process. From a student perspective, concentration levels declined as the lesson progressed. During the frozen feet activity, students initially participated well, but after approximately 5 minutes, they became distracted and disengaged. This suggested that the activity duration was too long and did not provide enough variability of practice to maintain interest. To address this issue, we adapted our coaching approach and created 2 additional activities on the spot. This decision was developed collaboratively after discussing the students' engagement levels and sharing observations with Riley during the session. This immediately re-engaged the students and increased motivation. The experience highlighted the importance of being flexible as coaches and having additional activities prepared if students lose focus. For week 3, several adjustments will be made. Activities will be shortened to approximately 5 to 7 minutes to maintain attention and engagement. We will also prepare additional drills and games to use if students become disengaged. Improving time management remains a priority, particularly ensuring smoother transitions between activities and starting the game earlier. The observations and evidence collected this week will help us continue monitoring student development and tailoring activities to their stage of learning, ensuring all students remain challenged and engaged throughout the program. Week 3 presented some challenges before the session had even begun. Due to poor weather, the session was rescheduled from Monday afternoon to Wednesday morning. Despite this disruption, we were able to adapt our plans and complete the session. A major success this week was the completion of our second round of skill testing. After collecting and analysing the results, we found that the mid-program testing data showed improvements across all 3 skills. The Week 3 testing data showed kicking improved by 37% across the group. This suggests that the increased focus on kicking activities and targeted knowledge of performance feedback was effective in improving skill execution. Kicking improved from an average of 2.43 in week 1 to 3.33 in week 3. Handballing improved from 2.98 to 3.72, and marking improved from 3.40 to 3.44. These improvements suggested that the distributed practice and constrained space activities were having a positive impact on skill acquisition. When combined with our observations and video analysis, the testing data indicated that the coaching strategies implemented during the first 3 weeks were improving both participation and performance. Students such as Ashton and Daniel beginning to display characteristics of the associative stage as their skills became more consistent and controlled. The biggest challenge during this session was student behaviour and concentration. Compared to previous weeks, the students were much more distracted and found it difficult to stay focused during instructions and activities. This may have been influenced by the session being moved to the morning, as the students appeared to have much higher energy levels than they did during the afternoon sessions. As a result, we needed to spend more time regaining their attention and keeping them on task. Although our organisation improved compared to previous weeks, delays in transitioning between activities still impacted the flow of the session. While we were more organised than in previous weeks, we were still slightly late starting the game. This limited the amount of time available for gameplay and reduced our ability to implement all planned modifications. One change we intended to introduce was dividing the field into thirds to encourage better positioning and ball movement. However, due to time constraints, we were unable to properly explain the concept to the students before the game began and decided not to implement it. For future sessions, we will continue using a constraints-based coaching approach, with activities shortened to maintaining engagement and focus. This will provide students with more opportunities to practice skills in game-like situations while supporting their progression from the cognitive stage towards the associative stage of learning. The data collected was also shared during class reflection discussions, allowing coaches to compare experiences and collaboratively develop strategies for future sessions, and provide a clear indication of students' overall development since the beginning of the project. Due to poor weather conditions, our 4th coaching session had to be moved indoors to the school gym. This created a significantly different environment for the students, as they were now playing on a hard surface under a roof and in a much smaller playing area than what they were used to. Despite these changes, the students adapted well and continued to demonstrate improvements in their AFL skills. One of the biggest successes of the session was the quality of play during the handball scratch match as one of our training drills. Compared to the first week, where many students struggled to perform a stationary handball accurately, there were now multiple passages of play where students successfully executed manipulative and object-controlled skills through traffic while maintaining possession and worked the ball towards goal. This demonstrated a clear improvement in both skill execution and decision-making. The smaller playing area also encouraged students to make quicker decisions while performing open skills under increased pressure and changing environmental conditions. A particularly successful coaching strategy was the introduction of a new game constraint requiring each team to complete 3 handballs before they are allowed to score. Previously, students would often attempt to run through the opposition individually, resulting in frequent turnovers. By introducing this constraints-based approach, students were encouraged to look for teammates, move the ball more efficiently, and work together to create scoring opportunities. This resulted in a noticeable improvement in teamwork, ball movement, and overall game flow. This was supported by the Week 3 testing data, which showed improvements in the skills most frequently used during gameplay, particularly handballing and marking. This improvement was supported by both observational evidence and video footage, which showed students using teammates more frequently and relying less on individual play than they had during the initial sessions. For future sessions, we will continue using modified games and constraints to encourage teamwork and skill development. The success of the 3 handball rule demonstrated how effective a constraints-based coaching approach can be in promoting better decision-making and game awareness. Overall, Week 4 showed significant growth in both individual skill levels and team play, highlighting the positive impact of the coaching program on student development. Week 5 was our final coaching session with the students and focused on completing the final test to evaluate the effectiveness of our coaching program. At the beginning of the session, several students were distracted and struggled to listen to instructions. To address this, we modified our session plan and extended the warm-up. This was an effective coaching decision as it allowed students to release excess energy and become more focused before beginning the testing activities. This demonstrated the importance of adapting coaching strategies to suit the needs of the group and a learning environment. The final testing showed clear improvement in many students when compared to their Week 1 benchmarking results. The final kicking data provided strong evidence of improvement across the group. Average kicking scores increased by 47.3%, handballing improved by 39.3%, and marking improved by 23.5% compared to Week 1. Overall, team performance improved from an average score of 2.94 to 3.98 out of 5, representing a 35.4% increase across the program. Each student improved in at least one assessed skill, while several students improved across all 3. These improvements provided strong quantitative evidence that showed coaching strategies strategies implemented throughout the program were successful. Several students demonstrated significant improvement throughout the program. Harvey improved his overall average by 56.8%, Kobe improved by 55.7%, and Aline improved by 54%. This suggests that the differentiated feedback, modified games, and constraints-based coaching strategies were particularly effective in supporting students who initially demonstrated lower skill levels. The consistency between the benchmarking data, observations, and video evidence provided strong support that the coaching program had successfully improved student performance throughout the 5-week competition. Students demonstrated greater consistency in fundamental motor skills, including locomotor skills and manipulative skills such as kicking, handballing, and marking during gameplay. Their skills required less thought and were performed with greater confidence and accuracy. From a coaching perspective, one of our biggest successes was our improved time management. Throughout the coaching program, this had been identified as an area for improvement. However, during the final session, we successfully started the game on time, allowing students maximum participation opportunities. This was a significant improvement from earlier weeks, where transitions between activities delayed gameplay. This also improved the effectiveness of our constraints-based coaching approach as students had more opportunities to apply their skills and decision-making in game-like situations. During the game, students demonstrated a much higher level of teamwork and decision-making than they had at the beginning of the program. Rather than relying on individual efforts, many students were now looking to pass the ball and create opportunities for teammates. This reflected the success of the constraints-based coaching strategies and modified games that had been implemented throughout the program. The students were also able to apply feedback that had been provided during previous sessions. Throughout the program, we used augmented feedback, particularly knowledge or performance, to improve technique and skill execution. Overall, Week 5 highlighted the significant progress made throughout the coaching program. The final benchmarking results demonstrated improvements in both skill performance and game understanding, while observations showed increased confidence and progression through the stages of learning. The success of the program was also supported by effective collaboration between coaches. Through weekly reflection meetings, class discussions, and shared analysis of testing data, we were able to continually adapt activities and coaching strategies to better meet the needs of the students. The combination of modified games, constraints-based coaching, augmented feedback, and the ongoing analysis of student performance contributed to a successful coaching program that improved both AFL skills and students' engagement.